the decision to have Paul Wright debut this way. When did you guys come to that as a way to debut him?
Phew. I don't know. That was a decision, obviously, that Vince McMahon and Russo had talked about in the way to introduce him. There was some debate about doing it here because the logical then next step is you want to see that match, and we weren't going there at WrestleMania. It was like,
see, that's what I struggle with. First of all, it doesn't feel like the original finish for this match. Do you know if another finish was ever discussed?
Not one that I heard. And, I knew that we had been talking to Paul and negotiations had been going back and forth. And then I knew when we got him, but people started talking about how to bring him in. And for example, my idea was not to bring him in until after WrestleMania and bring him in right on top going after Austin. Did let him, goddamn, he'd been off TV. Let him stay off TV. Let him percolate. People forget about the Giant. And then he comes out and destroys Austin after WrestleMania. And you've got a ready-made match there. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Don't get me wrong. I love the spot. I absolutely loved the spot and the whole way that it worked, and it was flawless. But as far as the introduction of a major character like that, it was pretty cool. But he wasn't successful. Basically he helped Steve win the fucking match. Just a lot of philosophical things that I did not necessarily agree with, but that was Vince McMahon. That's how he wanted to do it and felt this was the time for him to make a big impact. And just him being there was the impact. And didn't think people would care about, Austin won and it was Big Show that threw him out. Don't forget about that. Chocolate and vanilla.
It seems so weird to me because I thought the same thing you did. Like, if you're not going to do anything with Big Show and Stone Cold, why have this as a finish? And it also felt weird to debut him on a pay-per-view at the time to me, because it does feel like something you would want to do on Raw. Clearly the Monday Night Wars or whatever, you guys are winning weeks and months in a row here, but it does feel like something you would have tried to do because he's coming from the other channel instead of doing it on a pay-per-view. Do you remember, was any other way discussed about possibly debuting Big Show?
Well, like I said, my idea was to debut him the night after WrestleMania on Raw and have him come out and destroy Austin.
No, I know that was your idea. I don't mean to be dismissive of that, but did Russo say, what if we did that? Cause you've also said that Russo was sort of Vince's right-hand man for some of the creative at the time. Do you remember?
Oh, definitely he was.
Do you remember Russo having a different pitch that for whatever reason they said, nah, let's just do it here?
I don't know if it was Russo or McMahon's idea, because from them, I always heard pretty much a unified front as far as debuting him here at the Valentine's Day Massacre. I don't know internally if they discussed anything else. From them to me, and Vince McMahon and I had this talk at the TV studio when we first brought Paul into the office and introduced him to everybody. And Vince and I went back and forth on it a little bit. He said, because I understand that you're thinking bringing him in a little differently. And I said, yeah. I said, I just don't, we know where we're going. We've got it. We don't need anything else to get to WrestleMania with Steve and Rock. So why do we need him now? This minute for this pay-per-view, for this match. And he says, Bruce, it's Impact. It's the first time you see him, he makes impact. I said, but it's not a positive impact. He's failing with his impact. No one will remember that. So, okay, great. Let's go make this the best it can be. But I think that for the most part, a lot of people felt it was a little lackluster because he failed. Yeah, that's the best I could say. And there was also a feeling with Big Show that he wanted to work. Big Show wanted to wrestle. He wanted to show people that he was more than just a giant, that he was a big man that could actually have matches. Well, that's great, and he's turned into a pretty damn great worker. At the time, he wasn't that worker that he thought he was. And he was a giant. He was a novelty. He was an attraction. And I felt he should have been treated a little more special than throwing him into the mix and into the fire the way they did. But
let's talk about the actual execution of this. How the fuck do you sneak a 7 foot, 400-pound dude under the ring in the middle of the show?
It's out there all night.
Holy shit. That's what I needed to hear. The Big Show was out there from the time the doors opened for the fans to come in all the way till the end of the night.
Yeah.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid. All right.
Yeah. Here's your Gatorade bottle.
Oh,
I think he had a few of those. Had an ice chest. He had a box lunch, I think. Had a little mattress thing to lay on. All covered up. He basically had a little condominium under the ring.
so it's like he built a children's fort under the fucking ring, and
Yes.
it's there for hours and hours and hours. And this is his first night in the new company. Now, obviously he left WCW because, and we're going to do a whole Big show, I'm sure one day, but he leaves WCW because he's not happy with his contract. So he's got the money side like he wants, but your first day in, get the fuck under the ring. See you in 5 hours.
It wasn't like we didn't give him a box lunch and some waters and some place to pee.
All
He
right.
had a TV. He could watch the show. Didn't even have to pay for the pay-per-view.
Well, Vince probably took it out of his check. Now, the rumor and innuendo is that once upon a time, Big Show took a shit so foul under the ring that people were vomiting. He didn't take a shit at this show, right? Because that would just be the best possible way to make your debut with a new company.
No, I don't believe he took a shit this show.
Okay. We'll talk about the Big Show, I'm sure, another time. This whole story fascinates me. I'm really excited to cover it sometime. Who do you remember coming up with the little tidbit about the cage collapsing? Is that a Russo idea? Cause it's fucking incredible.
I think it had to be one of the Vinces. Pardon me. It had to be one of the Vinces, and that's where the first time I heard it. I heard it first from Vince McMahon, and that's when we were discussing the whole Paul Wright issue. And the name, I hated the name The Big Show at first. Didn't get it, didn't like it. I thought, God, Vince, it's so hard to say The Big Show. Now I can't imagine him with any other name. But when he came out, it was, what do we call him? Who do we say? We're not going to call him The Big Show right out of the box. And Vince opted to call him his name. He said, we didn't want to do who is this man? This giant of a man. Didn't want to do that bullshit. So just call him by his name, which I disagreed with too. But it was better than who is this man? Or, oh my God, it's The Big Show. People go, no, that's a giant from WCW. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him.